Hey YouTube, so excited to start the day this morning with an amazing breakfast, the Word of God, coffee. So definitely gonna be a really good day. Alright, I'm gonna show you how I made my breakfast. I made zucchini oats, so here are my oats, and I added to it chopped zucchini. Then I added some allspice as well as cinnamon. Cinnamon is great for improving your insulin sensitivity so you can absorb your carbs better. I also added glutamine, so glutamine is great for your immune system. And then once I put that in the microwave, I added to it some organic nut butter I got from Trader Joe's in the US of A. This nut butter has a mixture of peanuts, walnuts, hazelnuts, Brazil nuts. Yeah, so we're pretty excited about the flavor of this awesome nut butter. I also made myself an egg omelette, so using a whole egg and then 4 egg whites, adding that to some zucchini in a pan, and so I have a great mixture of both protein, carbs, and fats in the morning. This next section of the video, I am sharing some revelation I got from my morning devotion, but at the end of the video, I'll be sharing with you my at-home glute workout, so if you're interested in that, feel free to skip ahead. Hey everybody, bless you so much today. I just pray today Papa encounters you and blesses and fills your mind, body and spirit with his love. And so I'm going to set the context here. Chapter 1 and 2 of 1 Samuel is about the miraculous birth of Samuel the prophet. The name Samuel means God heard, and he is a prophet who heard God mightily, and he anointed Saul and David as kings, and he was used by God to lead the Israelites into victory anytime they were, fighting against the Philistines. So he was a mighty prophet of God, and it describes him to be a man where none of his words fell to the ground. So he heard God and spoke God's words so powerfully, so accurately, so truly, it never fell to the ground. It never became a mistake because God was with him and God spoke through him, and such a cool man. But the story of his birth is amazing. So setting the context here, there's Hannah, his mother. Hannah means favored one, and she was married to a man named Elkanah, and Elkanah had a second wife called Peninnah. She was jealous of Hannah and she had many children. Hannah was barren, and so Peninnah would torment Hannah purposefully, make her feel really bad about the fact that she was not able to give birth. And so back then in the Old Testament times, it was even more difficult to be a woman who was barren. Infertility is painful. It is a very painful topic. And Hannah was infertile. And, back then to be barren would mean shame, judgment, isolation. It's just an awful situation to be in, especially when you have such a dream to be a mom. And Hannah had to deal with this pain and judgment and criticism from society, but she also at home was being tormented by this other woman. And then she had a husband who loved her but just didn't understand. He would just give her a lot of material things to try to make her feel better, but also would make statements like, am I not better than 10 sons? So a little bit insensitive, a little bit unempathetic to her situation. And this is Hannah and the context that starts off the story. But Hannah is so incredible. See, I think if we just think about being in her shoes for a moment, imagine being tormented by this other woman, imagine being judged by society, imagine being with a husband who doesn't quite get it, and the pain. Like, how easy would it be to become bitter in that situation? How easy would it be to take control of the situation, try to manipulate, try to torment the other woman back and fight back, or being rude and bitter to your husband? But Hannah is such a beautiful, godly woman. Her character is so amazing. It truly shines through. And she actually goes to God with her pain. She doesn't take control. She doesn't become bitter. She doesn't fight back. She goes to God and she pours out her soul to Papa God. She pours out all of her frustration and all of her anguish, which is such a beautiful thing. If you are going through a really hard season and a really hard time, Pour out your soul to God. He cares. He loves you. And here Hannah doesn't just pour out her soul. In chapter 1, she pours out her soul and then she gives up her dream. She truly surrenders here. She surrenders all of her pain, and she also says to God, Lord God, give me a son and I will give him to you. I will dedicate him to you his whole life, and he will serve you his whole life. And so how beautiful is that? This complete surrender by Hannah, surrendering all that is in her heart and surrendering her dream, her greatest dream of being a mom, her firstborn son, to God. And as she's praying in the temple, the craziest thing happens. She's crying out from the depths of her being. And then Eli, a priest, of this temple, sees her and he accuses her of being drunk. So let's pause again for this moment and really sit in Hannah's shoes for a moment. Like, imagine that, the pain that she is in, what she's already endured, and then someone in authority accuses her of being drunk. Like, again, what an easy situation to become offended and fight back and hurt. But here Hannah again just blows me away, because her character, she honors Eli the priest. She humbles herself before him, calls herself a servant, calls him a Lord, and explains her situation kindly of, no, I'm not drunk, I'm just pouring out my pain to the Lord. And it's just such a beautiful thing. So, for anyone out there who has gone through something like this, where you have a dream and you haven't seen it fulfilled yet, or you feel like you're being tormented by people in your life, or you have loved ones in your life who just don't get it. They just don't get your pain. They just don't get where you're coming from. Or maybe leaders or people in authority in your life who put you down. Let Hannah's story encourage you, hey? She poured out her heart to God, and I believe God met her in the temple. Hannah left sad no longer. She was transformed. And I love how in chapter 2, after Samuel was born, Hannah, she ends with this beautiful song of praise to God. And she recognizes that God is her rock. She recognizes that God is the God of the impossible. She even says in verse 9, God, you guard the steps of your faithful ones. And so I really want to encourage you right now, like sometimes we can't see, like we don't see the promises being fulfilled. We're being oppressed, all of these things. And we're not sure of our next steps sometimes, but rest assured that God himself guards your steps. He guards your steps. He guards your destiny. So trust him, lean into him, and know that he is for you. And I just pray, that whatever you're going through, that you'll be able to feel the kindness of God over your life, and that you'll be able to surrender everything to him, your dreams, your hurts, your disappointments, and know that he will turn it around. He will turn it around. He will give you the peace and the joy that surpasses all understanding, but also release you into your future and your destiny that is even far beyond what you could ask for. But all we need to do is really lean in and trust him with everything that we are. So I just bless you. I pray that is a word of encouragement for you today. It encouraged me a lot as well, because sometimes I'm wondering, Lord, these dreams you've given me, but I don't know how to fulfill them. I don't know what my next step is. But I was so encouraged to know that God himself guides my steps, so I can trust that even if I don't know what my next step is, God does, and he will lead me to the right next step. So I release that over to you too. And hey, for anyone who's interested, stay with this video. I'm going to do a very quick at-home workout, because I so believe that we are to live in full freedom in our mind, body, and spirit. And so I pray that you feel so encouraged as I have spiritually right now by what God spoke and said through 1 Samuel. And stay with me for those who are also interested about strengthening their body. Alright, so for this at-home glute workout, you need a band. And you can get these bands on Amazon or maybe Rebel Sport if you're in Australia. But here I placed it around my knees, and starting off with the first exercise, a basic squat. The band here really helps keep your knees tracking outwards, and it helps you to feel the glute activate a lot more. And really making sure that you're doing the squat properly by not having your knees coming inwards. Next exercise is a standing glute kickback. So resting my weight against the wall and clicking my leg back, followed by a side raise to really hit the glute hip adductors. Making sure to do the other side, so doing a glute raise, leg kickback, followed by the side raises, really working your hips. These exercises are really great with strengthening your glutes, but also increasing your hip mobility. Next exercise here is a monster walk with a band. And so having the band around my knees, making sure there's tension on that band, and walking forwards and backwards for 30 seconds. I then went to on the floor by doing a kickback here, and then a side to side action. This really gets the whole glute max and glute medius. Making sure to do the other leg as well. Straight up and down, followed by side to side. Finally, I finished the glute circuit with some glute bridges. Here, having the band around my knees, keeping that tension, and so that my glutes are activated throughout the whole exercise, and then lifting my pelvis off the floor, up and down. This full glute circuit I did 5 times, and I did 12 reps of each exercise. Enjoy! Thanks for watching the video. Please leave a comment on what you would like to see next, and like and subscribe. Thank you so much.